Hey everyone, and welcome to our 2023-24 Upper Deck Series 1 Young Guns review. Today we're going to go through all 49 Young Guns in Series 1 and let you know our thoughts on the first part of the 2023-24 rookie crop. We'll be grading them based on the following scale of what the realistic potential is. A's are for players that have the potential to be elite first-line forwards, top 5 defensemen in the league, or elite goaltenders. B's are for players who have top 6 forward potential, are top 2 scoring defender, or are starting goalie. C pluses are for top 9 forwards, top 4 defensemen that can score, or tandem goalies. C's are for bottom 6 forwards or bottom 4 defensemen. C minuses are for players who probably won't score a lot, i.e. fourth liners or bottom pairing defenders, and also for backup goalies. And lastly, D's are for players who are replacement level, which means they're likely to be in the AHL as much as they are in the NHL. The letter grades represent what we believe their realistic ceiling is, but there will inevitably be players who under and overperform their grade because there are so many different variables that go into how a player develops, and these things can drastically alter a player's career. These include things like team composition, coaching staff, and opportunities that come up that either prevent or give them access to opportunities to play in the NHL. The most important thing to call out with our grading scale is the fact that defensemen are on a much tougher grading curve than forwards, and this is just simply because historically defensemen have always been less valued than forwards at the hobby level, so that's why you'll see some of them just at a lower value than what you'd expect them to be compared to their talent level. We'll be reviewing the players by team, followed by a quick summary of all 49 grades, so if you want to jump ahead to your favorite team, feel free to use the timestamps in the description below. We'll also be going a little bit more in depth on the higher rated players and kind of glossing over the lower rated players just because there isn't simply as much to talk about for some of them. If you've got any questions about any player in the crop though, feel free to leave a comment and we'll do our best to get back to you. Alright, let's start things off with the Anaheim Ducks, who have 3 young guns in Series 1. Nikita Nesterenko is a 22-year-old winger who put up respectable numbers during his NCAA career and has some offensive upside, but will probably net out as a bottom 6 forward in the league, so he gets a C. Drew Helleson is more of a defensive defender and probably won't put up a ton of points, so a C- here. Their final young gun is goaltender Ole Eriksson Ek, who has struggled to put up a save percentage above .902 in North America, so he gets a D. The Arizona Coyotes are up next, and Milos Kelemen is their only young guns. He is an AHL-NHL tweener with limited scoring upside, so he gets a D. Like the Arizona Coyotes, the Boston Bruins only have 1 young guns, and that is Joona Koppanen. The Finnish center is now in the Pittsburgh Penguins farm system and nets out as a C-. The Buffalo Sabres are up next, and Devon Levi gets our first A+. He's likely going to be the Sabres starting goaltender and has crushed it at every single level he's played at. The Sabres are also shaping up to be one of the league's best teams, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Levi be one of the best goaltenders over the next decade in the NHL. Lukas Rusik is a 24-year-old winger who put up 56 points in 70 AHL games last year. He probably doesn't project to be much at the NHL level, but there is some bottom 6 upside there. 23-24 Series 1 marks the first time in a long time that you actually want the Calgary Flames in a group break because they've got 3 of the best young guns in the product. Dustin Wolf is, in my opinion, the best rookie goalie in the product. However, his situation with the Flames is holding his grade back for me as he's stuck behind Markstrom for the foreseeable future, and a goalie's value is also impacted by a team's success, of which I don't expect the Flames to be that strong of a team in 3 to 5 years from now. Essentially, Dustin Wolf is an extremely talented goalie who, if he ever gets an opportunity to play this year, should thrive and have a ton of value, but he's stuck in a bad spot which lowers his grade from an A+ to an A- for me. Matthew Coronato has been a prolific scorer his entire career and should be able to continue to put up the points at the NHL level in a top 6 role. I don't expect anything insane from him, but I just expect him to be a solid everyday contributor at the NHL level, so a B+ for him. Jacob Pelletier is an undersized forward who, like Coronato, has thrived at every level he's played at. He unfortunately suffered a shoulder injury to start the season and will be out for a while, but he's got legit top 6 upside and should be a name to keep an eye on once he returns from his injury. The Carolina Hurricanes don't have any young guns, but the Chicago Blackhawks have 4, with Cole Guttman being the most notable player. Guttman's already seen some success at scoring at the NHL level, but his upside is relatively limited, so he's probably going to net out as a top 9 forward at best. The Colorado Avalanche also don't have any young guns, but the Columbus Blue Jackets do have two. Both of them are unfortunately fairly unremarkable, so you don't really have to learn too much about them. The Dallas Stars also don't have any young guns, and then it's time for Detroit, who have two of the more impactful players potentially. We'll start with Marco Kasper, who is one of the youngest players on the checklist at just 19 years old. He's had success playing a physical two-way game in the SHL and has put up some decent production too. If he ever does find that second gear for his scoring touch, he could become a perennial all-star, so keep an eye out for him as he continues to develop. Like Kasper, Simon Edvinsson has had success in the SHL and had a decent year as a 19-year-old in the AHL last season. He does have some elite offensive tools, but his hobby value likely won't be as high as his on-ice value as he's a defenseman and they're just generally lower valued. The Edmonton Oilers have one young gun, and it's Vinny Desharnais, who is kind of just a gritty defensive defenseman. He'll probably get a little bit of love early on just because of the physical game that he plays, but his overall upside is very limited, and he projects to be more of a 6th and 7th defenseman on teams for the next few years. Both the Florida Panthers and the LA Kings don't have young guns, however the Minnesota Wild do have Brock Faber. The 21-year-old blue liner has the tools to become a top pairing defender and is going to be given a lot of opportunity in Minnesota. While he may not be the most prolific offensive defenseman, he should be able to collect a decent amount of points and maintain some hobby love, especially if the Wild keep thriving. The Montreal Canadiens have two young guns, both with legit top 6 upside. Sean Farrell is a very crafty center and absolutely tore apart the NCAA last year. If he hits, he's probably going to be finding his name on the score sheet a lot for a young and up-and-coming team. I've cooled off on Owen Beck a little bit, but there is still plenty of reason to be excited for the forward. He's more of a really good two-way forward than an elite offensive player, and those players generally don't get as much hobby love, but he is on the Montreal Canadiens, and their rookies tend to be valued much more highly than any other team. Yes, the Hab tax is real. The Nashville Predators have the most base young guns in Series 1 with 5 players. Of those players, Luke Evangelista and Yaroslav Askarov are the two you want to pay attention to. Evangelista thrived at both the AHL and NHL levels during his first pro year and will likely be leaned upon in the Nashville top 6 for the next decade. Yaroslav Askarov is a very talented netminder who had a really solid year in the AHL last year. There's a lot of hype for the 6'4" netminder who's a former first-round draft pick, but he's going to be stuck behind UC Saros for the next few years, so his upside is a little bit limited because of that. Next up is Luke Hughes, who is one of the headliners for Series 1, and honestly the only reason I have him at a B+ is simply because he's the defenseman, and I don't think he's going to quite get into that Cale Makar territory. And that's not to take away anything from Luke Hughes. He is a very talented player who will likely be a first pairing defenseman for the majority of his career. It's just he's also on a really good team in New Jersey, so his opportunities are going to be a little bit less than what Makar's were when he came into the NHL. Next up are the New York Islanders, who have 3 young guns. William Dufour will likely be the most impactful player as he has been a prolific scorer in the QMJHL and had a very strong first pro season in the AHL. Samuel Bolduc is a defender that has some offensive upside, and Arnaud Durando is a winger that also has had some solid years in the AHL and could surprise people if he ever gets an opportunity at the NHL level. The New York Rangers have one young gun in Will Cooley, and he has some top 6 upside, but he's going to be stuck behind a fairly deep Rangers forward core, so it might take him a few years to actually reach that potential. The Ottawa Senators have 3 young guns in the product, headlined by Ridley Gregg. Gregg has had some early success in his pro career and is one of the safer bets in the product to become a top 6 forward at the NHL level. Levi Merilainen is a young netminder who had a good year in the Finnish men's league last year, but is stuck behind a few goalies in the Senators organization and will likely be starting in the ECHL this season. Tyler Clevin will probably carve out a solid NHL career, but he's a defensive defender without much scoring upside, so he'll probably never have a ton of hobby value. Like the Ottawa Senators, the Philadelphia Flyers also have 3 young guns this year, and they're headlined by Tyson Forrester, who is a very solid forward. In his first 8 games in the NHL, Forrester put up 7 points alongside 48 points in 66 AHL games. Not bad for your first full year as a pro. Elliot Desnoyers also had a very solid first pro season in the AHL with 44 points in 65 games, but his upside I think is just a little bit lower than Forrester's. The Penguins have one young gun in Jonathan Gruden, who will likely peak as a bottom 6 forward at best. Henry Thrun, Daniil Gushin, and Tristan Robbins are the 3 young guns for the San Jose Sharks. I was a little bit conservative with both Thrun and Gushin's grades, as I think they could play into the B- tier and will get every opportunity to do so, but ultimately I think their value will probably be hurt by the San Jose Sharks being not very good for the next few seasons. The Seattle Kraken are another team that don't have any young guns in Series 1, and then the St. Louis Blues have Matthew Kessel, who has very limited upside as a defenseman. The Tampa Bay Lightning also don't have any young guns, but the Toronto Maple Leafs might just have the best forward in the product. Matthew Knies is an extremely talented forward who's going to get a lot of opportunity in a very strong Leafs forward group and was actually an impact player for them in the playoffs last year. If he can continue his early NHL success, there's a decent chance he'll be the most valuable young guns from this crop. The Vancouver Canucks have 3 young guns in the product, and of them, I like Akito Hirose as an NHL player the most. It's just he's a defenseman who probably won't put up a ton of points. Aiden McDonough does have bottom 6 upside, and Cole McWard actually had a really strong training camp, but again, his upside I think is more in that bottom pairing defenseman area. The defending Stanley Cup champions have 1 young guns, and that is Yuri Patera, who is a netminder that saw a lot of success at the AHL level last year. It's just he's a 3rd string goalie right now and the 4th string if Robin Lehner is healthy, so he's probably not going to get a ton of opportunity in Vegas, but then again, given their cap situation and if he keeps playing well, he might find his way into a backup role, and if he gets put in the playoffs and they repeat as Cup champions, his value could spike. So just keep an eye on him, but I don't think anything major is going to come from him. The Washington Capitals have Vincent Iorio as their only young gun. He is a defenseman with some offensive upside and could potentially be a top 4 defenseman, but will probably be like a 4, 5, 6 type of player. So keep an eye on him, but I don't think anything too valuable is going to come from him. And he is our final young gun because the Winnipeg Jets do not have any in the product. For my top 10 in the product, I have Levi 1, Knies 2, Wolf 3, Luke Hughes 4, Greg 5th, Evangelista 6th, Casper 7th, Askarov 8th, Coronado 9th, and Sean Farrell 10th. I think Farrell could be swapped out with Pelletier. I just think he's got a little bit more potential upside being on the Canadiens and the team situation there compared to Pelletier's situation with the Flames. Overall, it's a pretty strong young guns crop. You have some potential high-end impact forwards with Knies, Evangelista, Casper, Greg, Coronado, and then you also have some really strong defenders like Luke Hughes. And then you have the trio of really good goaltenders like Devon Levi, Dustin Wolf, and Yaroslav Askarov. I'm actually really looking forward to the product. I think there's going to be some sleepers in this set while everyone's waiting for Bedard in Series 2. And I mean, that's going to be a pretty sick product, but I can't wait for that checklist to come out because when we review that, ooh boy, that's going to be a spicy one. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And if you're looking to pick up a box of 2023-24 Upper Deck Series 1, feel free to check out our site at zephyrepic.com. There will be a link in the description below, as well as we'll have group breaks for it next week too. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.